get started, all right? Good afternoon. This way, Mr. Mason. Where's the administrator? See him? All right, let's go. You gonna be? Testing 1, 2. Jeff, can you turn me up a little bit? They said they can't hear in the back. Can you turn this mic up? All right, somebody just gave me a word that you couldn't, so maybe it's because the chambers were full. All right? All right, how many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good afternoon, everybody. For the sake of time, we're running a few minutes behind, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Happy New Year. Welcome to the first commission meeting of 2025. Madam Clerk, I call this meeting to order. We're going to move it around a little bit. We're going to do the delegation portion first, madam. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. My apologies.
We need it.
We need it.
It's always a good time for that. I call your attention to the invocation portion of our agenda. Sorry, hold on. Got a revision here. Our invocation will be shared with us today by J. Michael Sherman, pastor of the Covenant Family Church. Would you please stand?
Thank you. Let us bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you the start of this new year, humbled by the weight of responsibility and filled with gratitude for the opportunity to serve the people of Augusta. As this commission gathers, we seek your wisdom, your guidance, your strength. Yes, Lord, you are the author of unity, of peace, and we ask that your spirit rest upon each leader here. Grant us the clarity to discern what is right, the courage to act on the behalf of the common good, and the compassion to serve with justice and fairness for all. May our words and decisions reflect the values and integrity, respect, and equity that is it deserving in our community. Bless this city. Bless the leaders, its citizens, and let Augusta be a place of hope and prosperity where the individuals can feel seen, valued, and empowered to thrive. As we embark upon this work ahead, remind us, Lord, that our authority comes not from personal gain, but from the betterment of those we represent. Strengthen our commitment to unity, that together we may build a foundation of trust and progress. It is in your holy name that we pray and ask these blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.
We would like our interim general counsel, if he would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reverend Sherman, would you please stand? We would like to humbly thank you for agreeing to come and share God's word with us. We know that Jesus always taught us that men ought always pray, and that God placed the government upon his shoulders. So God ordained government, and it's most appropriate for prayer. By these present be it known that J. Michael Sherman, pastor of the Covenant Family Church, is the chaplain of the day. May his spiritual guidance and civic leadership serve as an example to all citizens of Augusta. Given under my hand this 7th day of January, 2025, Garnett L. Johnson, Mayor. Thank you, sir.
Reverend, thank you so much for that prayer. We really appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, does that now take us to the delegation portion of this meeting?
It does, sir.
All right.
Commissioner Francine Scott honoring Dr. Cheryl Evans' remarkable legacy as she retires as the president of Payne College with 31 plus years of dedicated service to our region's only HBCU, Historical Black College University, with excellence guiding her final 5 years at the helm.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Bonner. Happy New Year to all. Today we are here to recognize and honor Dr. Cheryl Evans as she's retiring, have retired. And I just thought it was fitting that we acknowledge her in the chambers and on record. Now, I'm not sure what's going to be said after I say this, but thank you for a job well done. Now, and it's my understanding Commissioner Jordan Johnson is going to do a Cheryl Evans story, and then we'll have Dr. Evans come up, and then we'll introduce the city of Augusta to our new president of Payne College, Dr. McBean. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott. Dr. Jones, don't worry, I won't. I'm going to be good here, I promise. First of all, I want to take a quick moment just to say thank you for your service. Every time I speak about Payne College, especially to friends and family, more specifically to family members that I have that graduated from Payne, they always talk about, just your service and how you're synonymous with the school. And they always have their Dr. Jones story. Most alumni have Dr. Jones stories. And when Commissioner Scott approached me about saying a few things, I said, well, I'm going to tell my Dr. Jones story. So I may or may not have, when I was at Payne College, failed a class. And because we're on the public record, I'm going to say may or may not have, Jim Plunkett. I don't know. But it was a French class, and I failed that French class because I just didn't want to be there. Let's just be honest. I didn't want to do it. I didn't think that I needed to speak French. Failed the class, and I had to take it over again. Well, the next semester, I passed that class with a 90, 95, 96, something like that, with the professor. And when the final grade came around, I didn't get credit for that class. And I asked the professor why not, and he said to me in French, which blew me even more than I was already blown, he said, because you didn't fill out your enrollment certification. And so I didn't want to hear what he had to say. I sped downstairs of Haygood Hosey to the office where Dr. Jones was. I passed by Ms. Wimberly, didn't even want to talk to Ms. Wimberly, anyone else, and I went straight into Dr. Jones's office. And she was sitting behind her desk with grace, as she always does. And I burst into her office as a bull in a china shop like I was when I was 21, 22, whatever. And I'm just blowing off about why I was so angry about what happened, although it was my own fault. And she sat back, and just with this grace, she just said, "We'll take care of it." We'll take care of it. And after that grace, she gave me a lecture as to why I should do my enrollment certification. But in that moment, I realized why people respect you so much, because you didn't raise your voice, you didn't blow me off as you could have. You sat there, you listened, and you helped. And that's what leaders do. Leaders help when the opportunity to help presents itself. And so from my heart to yours, and certainly everyone else, Dr. Jones, we love you. We're going to miss you on the campus, but we know you're not going anywhere. But congratulations, and every chance I get, I'm going to tell my Dr. Jones story. So congratulations.
She needs the mic. Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon to the mayor, the commissioners, to all assembled here. Good afternoon. Thank you, Commissioner Jordan, for not telling one of the embarrassing stories. I'm glad that one had a good ending. I want to thank all of the commissioners for this honor, for the reception. I thank Commissioner Lewis, Commissioner Scott, all the sponsors. It has indeed been my honor and my privilege to serve at Payne College for almost 32 years, the last 5.5 as president. One of the things that I have been most proud of is the graduations that I've seen, the 31 graduations that I've seen, because that's what we do, educate students. I want to thank the mayor, the commission, the entire city of Augusta, the alumni, the friends, the supporters of Payne College for your support. As I've said before, the CSRA needs Payne College. Payne College is the CSRA's only HBCU, and we are a proud member of this educational community. Likewise, Payne College needs the CSRA. So I hope that support will continue to go both ways. It is indeed my honor and my privilege to be a native of the CSRA. For those of you who don't know my history, I was born here in Augusta. I graduated from Ursula Collins High School and then Thomas Walter Josie High School. So I'm a proud Augustan, and I will remain in the city, so some of you will be seeing me from time to time. But I have officially turned over the torch to my successor, Dr. Lester A. McCorn. And Dr. McCorn, I welcome you to Augusta and to Payne College, and you too, Mrs. Charlene McCorn. Thank you again for this recognition today. I appreciate it very much. I pray that God will bless you, that God will bless the city of Augusta, and may God also bless Payne College. Thank you.
And now we'll hear from the new president, Dr. McCorn. Please come up and say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott, to the mayor and to the commission. What an honor it is for me to not only be here, but to follow in the footsteps of Dr. Cheryl Evans-Jones. I am honored to have followed such a record, a distinguished record of service to the city of Augusta and to Payne College. I have been welcomed warmly to this city. I already feel at home. And I'm so proud to be the 18th president in the line of succession of people who have led this great institution since 1882. I could only say to you that from my vantage point, the future looks tremendously bright. I know that there are challenges, but because of our faith and fortitude, we believe that the best is yet to come. So I solicit in advance your prayers and your support of Payne College as we do the good work of educating minds and liberating those who feel like they don't have a chance. I'm here today because someone gave me a chance as a poor kid from the projects of Worcester, Massachusetts, to get an education at another HBCU that you may have heard of, Morehouse College. I literally went from no house to Morehouse. And now I have an opportunity to pay it forward to the students who come down there on 15th Street to receive a world-class education. I look forward to working with this commission and all the citizens of Augusta, Georgia. Thank you for receiving us warmly. God bless you.
Certainly something to celebrate, Dr. Cheryl Evans-Jones. Thank you for your commitment to this community and to Payne College. We look forward to your continued work. Dr. McCorn, we welcome you and the First Lady. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really enjoyed the reception and looking forward to working with you. So thank you so much. Madam Clerk, I think that takes us to the next portion of our delegation.
We would like to ask newly elect, sworn in, Honorable Don Clark, if he would please come forward. Commissioner-elect Francine Scott, and Commissioner-elect Jordan Johnson. Would you please come forward? Come on, Mr. Mayor. Get these done. And as they make their way forward, just stand right here. She already has hers. She got hers at an oath of office. And I'll read: the state of Georgia, by His Excellency Brian P. Kemp, Governor and Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of this state and the military thereof. To the Honorable Donald R. Clark, Jordan Johnson, Francine Scott, greetings. By virtue of the power and authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of this state, and in pursuance of your election, I do hereby commission you, said County Commissioner of District 5, District 1, and District 9, Richmond County. You are therefore authorized and required to perform all duties, and singular the duties incumbent on you as said officer, according to laws and the trust reposed to you. This commission is to continue in force from January 1, 2025 until December 31, 2028, or until you are removed in the manner of prescribed by law. Given under my hand and the seal of the Executive Department of the Capitol in the city of Atlanta, this 7th day of June in the year of our Lord 2025, by Governor Brian P. Kemp. Thank you. No, the mayor has yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for our three commissioners, our four commissioners. Commissioner Alvin Mason has asked for a point of privilege, if you will. If you guys would just sit quiet with me for just a minute. I'm going to give Commissioner Alvin Mason the floor. He has a few words he'd like to say. Commissioner Alvin Mason, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it's good to be back sitting in this seat again. I am very, very grateful for God's grace, His mercy, and His favor. I want to say a special thank you to our Super District 9 Commissioner, Francine Scott, during my absence for ensuring that District 4 was well taken care of. And from the community in the District 4, we give you a very heartfelt thank you, very warm thank you and appreciation for what you've done. I would be remiss if I didn't share the goodness of what God's done. I've been gone for the last 6 months, and for those of you that don't know, I've had major back surgery. My mom passed on June 7th. We funeralized her on June 11th. On June 20th, I went in for back surgery. It was supposed to take 2.5 hours. It ended up being 6 because they found a lot of nerves that were tangled and compressed in my body. And it took them an extra 3.5 hours to do it. It was very delicate. They thought it might cause paralyzation if they didn't take their time. So 6 hours after surgery, they got me up and they wanted me to walk to make sure that I wasn't paralyzed. And I had a difficult time, but I made it over to the wheelchair where they had me to go. And I flopped in the wheelchair and I looked up at the nurse and I said, "Nurse Hope, I don't feel good. I think I'm gonna pass out." And on June 20th at 11:58, late that evening, Lena, I passed out, I coded, I flatlined. I was totally unresponsive for 4 to 5 minutes. But early on June 21st at 12:02 a.m., 4 minutes later, God said, "Son, get up. It is not your time." And God brought me right back from the depths of death. And I can't tell you how grateful I am to share that story. I would be remiss if I didn't share the goodness of God and how good He is and how good His grace and favor and mercy allowing me to come back. I am suffering from some severe fatigue. It'll be a year to a year and a half recovery, and I'm only in my 7th month. But I feel good enough to try to come back and give it my best. And as long as God will have me and keep me and allow me to come and do the job that He's assigned me to do in the task, I will be here. If I cannot, I will certainly make that known and I'll take the appropriate action. But I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you that called, texted, prayed, sent cards, and wished me the best during this period of time. There was different whispers and things that was going on while I was absent for that length of time. And I thought it pertinent to share what God has done. And the fact is that on June 20th, He didn't have to wake me back up on June 21st. And my birthday was June 22nd. And when I coded and flatlined and I opened my eyes, all I saw, Lena, was a bright light. That's all I saw. Just a bright light. I didn't see anyone else, just a bright light. And I closed it and they asked me to open again, and I kind of focused in and I saw silhouettes. And once it focused in, I had 25 people surrounding me, nurses, white coat doctors, and so forth. They had called for the code blue for my room. And they said, "Can you say anything?" And I said, I shook my head, yes. They said, well, say something. I said, "Well, where's that food y'all promised me after surgery?" Fasted at 12 o'clock the night. My surgery was 12 o'clock the next day. I was supposed to have food after surgery, but it was 12 o'clock at night before they came and got me. And so all I remembered was I didn't have my food and I was hungry. And they clapped and they laughed, and then the doctor explained to me what happened. And the only real sad part about that is that they had called my daughter and informed her that I had moved on. And that was very devastating for her. But when she came in, she realized that Dad was yet alive, and that it was the good Lord who made that happen. And so I wanted to share that with you. So now you heard it directly from me. Know where I've been, what I've been doing, trying to recover, still heart broken to pieces for the loss of my mother. But yet and still, I have so much joy in my heart that I'm still here to do whatever God has me to do. And so the enemy can't defeat me. The enemy cannot touch me. And you cannot touch God's anointed. And I'm so grateful that he chose me to be his son. So I wanted to share that with you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for all your calls, commission and staff. And I am so grateful to you. My family's grateful. And I'm here to do the best job that I can while I can. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that.
Thank you for that, Commissioner, and we certainly welcome you back, and we've been praying with you. Now, before we move on to our next business, Madam Clerk, we have one new employee that we need to acknowledge. Mr. Mika Williams, can you stand up, please? We have a new director for Parks and Recreation. This is our very first commission meeting. Ms. Williams, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I think that finally takes us to this elections of officers portion of our agenda.
Yes, sir.
Do we need to entertain a motion to open the process of nominations? Or do we just open up the floor for nominations?
Just go ahead. Just open
right.
it up.
I'd like to open up the floor for nominations. I see where Commissioner Jordan Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's fitting that I make this nomination. I nominate Commissioner Alvin Mason. I think there's a reason why he's here.
All right.
And Commissioner Alvin Mason, Mayor Pro Tem.
All right. There's been a nomination for Commissioner Alvin Mason or Commissioner Catherine Smith McKnight.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to nominate Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle for Mayor Pro Tem.
Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle has been nominated. Are there any additional nominations? Hearing a seat, Commissioner Francine Scott.
I'd like to close the nomination.
There's been a motion to close nominations. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All right. There's a motion. There's a second. Madam Clerk, we're ready to vote. Seeing no further colleagues in the queue to close nominations. We're doing the vote just to close
Vote to close nominations.
Close nominations.
Is it by unanimous? It's unanimous.
All right, he's unanimous. All right. We're going to go in order in which the candidates were nominated. The first vote is going to be for Commissioner Alvin Mason.
That motion ties 5-5 with Mr. Jordan Johnson voting yes, Ms. Pulliam, Mr. Mason, Mr. Tony Lewis, Ms. Francine Scott. Voting no, Ms. Rice, Mr. Clark, Ms. Slindeck, Mr. Guilfoyle, and Mayor Johnson.
All right, Madam Clerk, let's move on to the next nomination.
That would be for
Commissioner Wayne
Wayne
Guilfoyle.
Guilfoyle.
Yes, ma'am.
That motion carries 7-3. with Ms. Pulliam, Mr. Lewis, and Ms. Scott voting no.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Congratulations, newly elected Mayor Pro Tem Wayne Guilfoyle. Madam Clerk, we're now going to recess for a few minutes while we go back
Okay.
and do the committee assignments. All right?
Okay.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're hereby recess for just a few minutes. Thank you so much. All right, Madam Clerk, call this meeting back to order from recess. I think we're prepared to announce the committee assignments as well as the board assignments. Has that list been presented to you, Madam Clerk? Yes, sir. All right, do we need to read that in for the record?
The mayor and mayor pro tem offer the following as committee assignments for the year 2025. Administrative Services Chair, Brandon Garrett. Co-chair, Tina Slindak. Members, Don Clark and Tony Lewis. Finance Committee Chair, Stacy Pulliam. Co-chair, Jordan Johnson. Members, Alvin Mason, Wayne Guilfoyle. Engineering Chair, Alvin Mason. Co-chair, Don Clark. Members, Jordan Johnson, Wayne Guilfoyle. Public Services Chair, Catherine Rice. I'm sorry. Co-chair, Tony Lewis, Francine Scott, Tina Slindak. Public Safety Information Technology Committee Chair, Francine Scott. Co-chair, Brandon Garrett. Members, Stacy Pulliam, Catherine Smith Rice. On our Richmond County Board of Health appointments, Tony Lewis, Augusta Bush Field, Don Clark, Greater Augusta Arts Council, Ms. Pulliam, Planning Commission, Catherine Rice, the Library Board, Francine Scott, General Aviation, Daniel Field, Wayne Guilfoyle, Board of Education, Don Clark, Family Connection, Francine Scott, Richmond County Health, Housing Authority, Richmond County Housing Authority, Catherine Rice, Land Bank, Alvin Mason, Visitors Bureau, Tina Slindak, 911 Council, Tina Slindak, South Augusta Development, Alvin Mason, Serenity, Brandon Garrett, DDA, Jordan Johnson, Tax Assessors, Brandon Garrett, CSRA Regional Commission, Tony Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right. Yeah, we need a motion to receive those, please. There's a motion. Is there a second? There's a motion in there, a second.
Okay, that's
Commissioner
Mr.
Jordan Johnson, I see you
Mason.
in the queue, sir. You have the floor.
Yes, sir, I just had a quick question about, I'll come out of the queue. I'll come out.
Yeah, all right. There's a motion and there's a second. Madam Clerk, we're voting.
Where is it? Already. Oh, okay. Mr. Johnson. And Mr. Mayor, before we publish the vote, just like to make a correction on that. It was the Richmond County Hospital Authority, and that will be Commissioner Catherine Rice.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Francine Scott, I see you in the queue, madam.
Yes, sir. Do we have a copy of what you just stated?
There will be a copy. The clerk will.
I will put this together and send it out to the commission. You want to see it now?
I would.
You want to see this?
I didn't get it all either. I'm glad you talked for it. I didn't get it all.
You got your pencil?
Yeah, I got a pen.
Thank you, Mayor.
Madam Clerk, can you take it to the other end, please? Okay. All right. I think it takes us to the consent portion of our agenda.
And yes, sir, Ms. Mayor, can we also at the same time consider the addendum agenda because there are some items that are on that agenda?
Yes, ma'am.
That
Please, can you read
conflicts?
it in for the record, please?
Yes. Do we accept the addendum agenda without objection?
Is there any objection to accepting the addendum items? Hearing or seeing none. Commissioner Clark, I see you in the queue. Is there, you're in the queue for? Okay. Hearing or seeing none, they're added, Madam
Thank
Clerk.
you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, our consent agenda consists of items 1 through 6. For the benefit of any objectors to our Planning Commission items, would you please signify your objection once the petition is read? Call your attention to item number 1 is to approve a request for a rezoning from a Zone B1 neighborhood business to a Zone B2 general business affecting property located at 2311 Windsor Spring Road and 3221 Richmond Hill Road. Item number 2 is a request for approval requesting a rezoning from a Zone R1A1 family residential B1 neighborhood business, B2 general business to Zone B2 general business affecting property located at 2107, 2109 Harding Road and 2925, 2931, and 2935 Peach Orchard Road. Are there any objectors?
Any objectors? Seeing none, let's continue.
Item number 3 is a request for approval requesting a rezoning from a Zone R3A multiple family residential to a Zone R3C multiple family residential affecting property located at 2620 Richmond Hill Road. Are there any objectors?
Any objectors? Seeing or hearing none, let's continue.
Item 4 is a request to establish a cemetery located at 3451 Old McDuffie Road, Zone R1C1 family residential, R3A multiple family residential, and R3C multiple family residential. Are there any objectors?
Any objectors? Seeing or hearing none, let's continue.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, our consent agenda consists of items 1 through 6 with no objectors to our consent items, planning petitions.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chair recognizes Commissioner Francine Scott from the 9th.
Yes. Mayor Johnson, I would like to pull number 1 in planning. We have some constituents that would like to speak to it, not in objection, but would like to speak.
Thank you, Commissioner from the 9th. Madam Clerk, that is poll number 1. All right. You guys are mighty quiet first meeting. Who's up?
Well, I'm waiting.
Not at this point, not
see
doing
if
the
they
consent agenda. We'll address you in just a second. All right, thank you, sir. Our chair recognizes Commissioner Johnson from the 1st.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have much to add to consent. I was just wondering if there are some items that we would be willing to send to committee, being that they haven't been through committee, and then also for the sake of time, I know that there's some of our school board members and our interim superintendent is being sworn in today. Many of us would like to attend. So I wanted to see if there was any interest in moving some of these items to the committee.
Commissioner, you can certainly make a recommendation. We'll see if there's anybody that objects to it. Is there anything you had in particular?
Okay, yes, sir. I would suggest item 14 go to committee.
14.
This is to committee.
This is just to committee. Item 14 to committee. Item 15 to committee. Item 16 to committee. I would suggest item Yeah, 14, 15, 16, and the other two have already been discussed. Yeah, so maybe 14, 15, and 16, just for the sake. And then consent items 17. Okay. 17, 21, I'm sorry, 21, 22, 23, 24.
Okay, any objection to add those to the consent agenda? Here and seeing.
Let's add 26 and 27 too.
26 and 27. Any objection to adding 26 and 27 to the consent agenda? Hearing or seeing none, we're at it. All right.
Mr. Mayor, can you consider items on the addendum agenda for consent?
All right. The addendum agenda, it's item 1, 2, and 3. Is there any objection to adding these to the consent agenda? Have you guys had an opportunity of reviewing them?
No objection.
Madam Clerk, no objection. The addendum items 1, 2, and 3 are consented. Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Wayne Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under Public Service, Madam Clerk, can I consent agendas items 7, 8, which is amazing on 8 is we got a reimbursement from a contractor. Agenda item number 9, agenda item number 11, 12, and 13. Under engineering, which I got the engineering director here, and then my committee chair.
Okay. All right. Is that it, Commissioner? Mayor Pro Tem? All right. Chair recognizes Commissioner Stacy Pulliam from the second.
Thank you so much, Mayor Johnson. It's not that I don't want to consent number 7. I just want to make sure we don't run into what we ran into last year with the bars. So I do have a question on that one, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Madam Clerk, we're removing number 7 from consent. All right. Guys, I see no one else in the queue. That's all we have. Can I entertain a motion, please?
Second.
All right, that's a motion. There's a second. Madam Clerk, saying no one else.
That's Mr. Johnson and Ms. Pulliam. Mr. Johnson?
Rice.
Rice. Oh, Rice. Okay.
Let me take a picture of these.
We're adjusting.
All right. Y'all ready? Let's vote, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor?
I'm sorry, I hit it one time, I hit it again. There you go.
Thank you. It's unanimous.
All right, let's go top to bottom, item 1.
Item 1 is a request for concurrence with the Augusta Planning Commission to approve petition by Drayton Parker Companies, LLC, on behalf of Mr. Bargerini, requesting a rezoning from a Zone B1 neighborhood business to a Zone B2 general business affecting properties located at 2311 Windsor Spring Road and 3221 Richmond Hill Road.
All right. Someone recommended. Director Delaney. Yeah.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year. All right, so in regards to case Z24-33, it is for a gas station, Parker's, to occupy and construct a new gas station at the intersection of Richmond Hill Road and Windsor Spring Road. There was some concerns that were brought forth by the community. There was also a community meeting where 20 to 25 people showed up at the Lumpkin Road Community Center, and they addressed some of the concerns that they had. The overall, our interpretation was that the meeting was successful. There were some concerns. They said there will be no semi-truck filling stations. There will be no semi-truck parking. They're going to comply with all the requirements. They're going to put a 20-foot wide planted buffer in. They're also agreeing to install trees that are going to be larger rather than just medium-sized trees to help with the screening.
Yeah.
In addition to that,
Yes.
they've agreed to the meetings that were requested. So I can field any questions from there.
All right, are there any questions? Commissioner Scott?
Mayor
from the
Johnson,
back.
we would like to hear from the community. I think we have a representative or two, but not very long, just.
Yes, sir, all right. Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. Sir, if you will, come to this mic right here. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Nathan Williams. I live at 2307 Cadden Road.
Thank you, sir. You have the floor. You have a few minutes.
Thank you very much. My concern basically is, it's not against Parker, please, I want them to understand it. But coming out of that, they have it so that you can make a left turn. And that's going to cause you to cross at least 4 to 5 lanes to make a left turn. And that's going to be dangerous. I've lived in that neighborhood for 19 years. My wife and I have been in an accident, and several other people that have been in accidents there. You cannot cross that many lanes and make a turn, a left-hand turn. The other thing is, why is it necessary to have 8 service stations in less than 2 miles? That's my concern. I am so thankful that they thought of us. I would love to see something there. But safety is first, because it could be one of us or one of our children, our grandchildren, that could be killed there, because it's going to happen. It's happened too much, too regular. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. Madam, if you will, for the record, please state your name and address.
Good afternoon. My name is Juanita Burney, address 2208 Cadden Road. And I'm standing here as a proud member of South Augusta. I know most of you. Thank you for having me to have this statement. Last month, Commissioner Francine Scott and Commissioner Bobby Williams met with members of the Rollins Area Neighborhood Association, along with a Parkers Association representative. While there were a few residents in opposition of the Parkers, primarily those living along Windsor Spring Road, the majority of the members did not take a stand opposing the facility. We are agreed as a community that we have enough convenience markets. However, we understand that the development of the property will eventually happen. We prefer to have a corporate entity willing to work with our community build there. Parkers has voiced agreement to working with the community. It was agreed by Parkers and the community that there would not be any 18-wheelers allowed to park on this site except for those that are pickups and deliveries. They agreed to work that loitering will not be permitted on the site. Former Commissioner Barbie Williams met at the site with association representatives Kenneth Pugh and Charles Stafford. Traffic engineer John Ursery was there, and they discussed the traffic issues. Some possible ideas for management were offered and discussed. We asked that going forward, that what our city government would do for us is support the actions that will be recommended to help manage the traffic flow in the area. We are looking forward to Parkers being a good neighbor and working with them, but our last concern remains the traffic. So we do ask that you support the engineer in his bid to help us to minimize the traffic issues. As a current member of the Tax Assessors Board, nobody understands having a new business better than I do to bring in tax revenue to the city. So we look forward to working with Parkers. We want to thank Commissioner Barbie Williams for meeting the traffic engineer there, because he was on his way out and he really didn't have to do it, but he did do that for us. We look forward to working with our incoming commissioner, Don Clark, and a transition meeting between the two and the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Burney. Are there any representatives here for the Drayton Parker Company? Thank you, ma'am. For the record, please state your name and address.
Good afternoon, Tiffany Jackson, 171 Crossroads Parkway.
All right.
We had the opportunity to meet with the community and Ms. Burney, and we had some good conversation. I believe we addressed a lot of concerns with the community. We were not able to resolve a lot of the existing traffic issues. So I think we have the opportunity to work with the city to come to some conclusions on, working towards some conclusions to address some of those in the future with the city engineering department. But I look forward to working with the community to address some of those, and we ask for the board's approval for rezoning to B2.
Thank you, ma'am. I have a colleague in the queue, Commissioner Alvin Mason from the 4th. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Who is here to address the issues that we've heard from the community in terms of the traffic and what is being done about the concerns, the legitimate concerns that have been brought forward?
So as part of the site plan approval process, they will be required to do a traffic study, and that through the traffic study, that will show what improvements would be necessary for the flow to be correct.
Okay, well, the issue that I have in my mind is if this is passed now and a traffic study is done later, and this is already passed, what difference does it make what the traffic study says if we've already passed it today?
So the traffic study, just the order of operations in general, typically you do your zoning first. Then once you accomplish the zoning, you do your traffic study to make sure it's feasible, and then the build. They would not be doing any dirt moving or any type of going vertical with the building until that traffic study is complete, because that affects the design. So they may have to relocate the entrances and do deceleration lanes. All that is fleshed out through the traffic study, and then that gets implemented at the site plan.
And that's what I wanted to come out so that the community can hear all of that. So when you're giving your answers and assessments, be meticulous and detailed so that the community, you know it and you know what's going on, but you've got to understand that that's not the business of our constituents. And so we want to give them the most accurate and information that we possibly can so that we can clear up any potential issues that they may have. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, colleagues, what are we going to do? We need to, all right, Commissioner Francine Scott?
We'd like the motion to approve.
Well, there's a motion to approve with a proper second. Seeing no colleagues in the queue, Madam Clerk, we're ready to vote.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. There's been an ask for reconsideration of an item that the Marshal is obviously apparently going to be out of town. Commissioner Johnson, you want to address that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you have the floor.
Just out of mistake, want to reconsider consenting item 16 and hear that discussion today.
All right, so there's a request to remove item 16 from going to committee to actually addressing it today. Is there any objection to that? Hearing or seeing none, Madam Clerk, can you add item 16 back to our agenda?
Yes, sir. Thank you
so much. Let's move on to item number 7. Someone asked for 7. Item number 7, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. My question, based upon what happened last year, and we had to go back and forth, Director Delaney, did we do a poll this year, or was this the popular day last year? How do we go about choosing this day?
We looked at the calendar, and no holidays fell on a Sunday.
Okay.
And that's how we didn't do a poll, so we did it that way.
Awesome.
All right.
Sounds good. That answers my question.
Can you provide a motion? Do we need to approve this? Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Don Clark. Madam Clerk, we're voting.
Ms. Scott, Ms. Lewis, are they out? Okay, there. That motion carries with Mr. Lewis and Ms. Scott out.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That takes us to item 10.
Item 10 is a motion to approve recommendation of award to Contract Management, Inc. for construction of the project in 2025.
Good afternoon, Commission and Mayor, Commission. This is a request for a recommendation of award to Contract Management. Contract Management was one of 5 bidders that bid on an airport project, and the bids opened on December 6th of 2024. They were the low bid, again, at $5,706,000 and $278. This particular project, just to kind of give you a quick background, this project will expand the airport security checkpoint from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, also reorientate the security checkpoint and add some additional operational spaces. The primary funding for this project will be federal grants. We won a grant last fall for $4 million through the bipartisan infrastructure law. And there's also additional bipartisan infrastructure money that will fund this project. And the airport will provide about a $285,000 match. But again, Contract Management was the low bid on an ITB that was, again, on December 6th.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Clark. Madam Clerk, we're ready to vote.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Director, for being here.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, I think that takes us to item number 16, the item that we asked be added back to our today's agenda.
Item 16, salary increase request for Marshal's office.
All right, is the Marshal?
He's here.
Here he comes.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir. You're welcome.
Give us 1 minute to set this PowerPoint up. So again, good afternoon, Mayor, Commission. Thank y'all for allowing me to come speak before y'all today. Just want to address several issues that's been concerning with the Marshal's office. Just give you a little background about it. We are all law enforcement officers for the Richmond County Sheriff's Office and the Marshal's Office, the State Patrol, the GBI. Everybody has post-certified arrest power to do arrests. We just have different lanes what we operate in. Just State Patrol, we operate in, well, I'm a former trooper, we operate in traffic. Marshal's Office, we operate quality of life issues and security issues. So we all have things to do that's mandated by us. Let me go to the next slide. So these are our core missions right here, okay? Like I said, we are all law enforcement officers. We provide enforcement services for court systems, including process services and evictions. So we do all the evictions and the process service, stuff like that. We provide security for all the government buildings here. We provide all the law enforcement for the airport, out of the airport. We do comprehensive, proactive law enforcement for answering calls with 311, any complaints, stuff like that, we do that. And Airport Division, Security Division is a 24-hour, 365 days operation. So some of our incentive, the proactive steps that we do, for the dump stat, the clean and safe Augusta, because we recognize that we have a lot of industry here and people want to move to a town that's not clean and safe. So that's why we take a very proactive role in doing that, make sure Augusta is clean and safe. We have our enforcement teams, our chronic nuisance for properties. We have sweat with a vet that we do. We have probation cleanup that this body approved. Last year we have 2 deputies for that, and we have the homeless task force. As of right now, because of we lost 23 people, we're going to have to suspend all of those services until we get back up to manpower issues to start those services back up again. So all of those proactive things will be suspended right now until we can get back up to manpower to start doing those services again. So the current status is where we at right now. The Sheriff's Office, y'all gave them a raise. That's not how we got there. They consolidated some positions to do that, 51 positions, but their starting salary now is $56,369. That's $11,000 difference than the Marshal's Office, and we're doing the exact same job. Our starting pay is $45,000. So we recently just lost 22 personnel because of that. Over the past 8 years that I've been in office here, we have maintained a personnel status of 95% or better the whole time we've been here. And we just went down to 33% when all those raises came, and you can't blame anybody if you're getting paid $11,000 to $15,000 more for going over to a different agency. So until the raises was granted, well, the sheriff's office restructured, we was at 95% full rate. So that's what our suggestion is to help qualify that is requested. This is what we asked from the commission. It's going to be to create parity from the sheriff's office, not all the way there, because we're still going to be $77,000 short if y'all approve these raises. It'll be 10% for the deputies, 8% for the corporals, 6% for the sergeants, 4% for the lieutenants, and 2% for captain and above. Now, this will help us with retention and getting new talent in, because we do have a gap right now with 23 personnel that's gone. So we have to work tirelessly trying to fill that right now, so that's what we're trying to do and get the help of this body to do that. Like I said, that will take our starting salary up to $49,500. Still won't be 56, but it still put us in a better bargaining power to get people here. We'll still be $7,369 below. I got a video I want to show y'all, because some of the people say, well, the marshal's office do what the sheriff's office do. The marshal's office don't do this. And that's just not true. We all certified officers. When you get pulled over, something happened and you need police, you don't care if that person's wearing black or gray or blue and gray. You just want somebody there to help you. And this video will show how we've helped people throughout the time. And you see some of my videos. If you, Megan. Oh. My IT person. I'm no good at this.
Is she talking? Is she talking? Yes, okay. Because, hey, calm down. Calm down, all right? Calm down. Calm down.
These are some of the things we go through every day.
Yeah,
and evictions is one of our most dangerous things. We do 16 evictions every day.
So now you're going to jail. Turn around.
Warrants at the airport.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Don't jerk. Just be still. Hey, come fly. I didn't fly. Hey, you flew across the road. Stop. Walk over there. Everybody, walk over there now.
These are actual stuff we roll up on. People don't care about the color of your car when something happens. You got blue lights, they want you to stop and help, and that's what we do.
GFC 757. GFC 757. Hey there. What's your name? Okay.
But all he had to do was stop. That's all.
Another crash that we roll up on. And our people, we just don't ride past stuff. If we see it, we stop for it. That's our culture.
Are you okay? All right, let's stay still. Just sit down. Just sit down. You got vehicle right there? All right, are you okay? Okay, anybody else in that vehicle right there?
We're just assessing right now.
What you say?
He said, yeah.
Let me drop off that other lane for you.
I got you. Are you okay?
I think so. I'm
Okay.
a little shaken up.
I got you.
I can't get my car to crank up. I was going to try to pull up into the current lane.
It's when the current hurricane happened, when we had all those wrecks, pushing cars out of the roadway, helping everybody. Everybody, all public safety out there doing their job.
No, I want you to steer it for me.
Every eviction, we got to clear houses, people in houses waiting on us, stuff like that. That's 16 a day.
Marshal out there.
Who shot at you? I don't know, nigga. All right, where the hell they go? Come on, bro. I don't fucking know. Yo, we got it. Yo, you good, man?
Shooting that we responded to.
Calm down. Calm down. What you got to me? You make sure you good. We good. Oh, come on.
We got people with guns, we clearing with assault rifles, and so you can't say that one agency is doing more than the other. We all doing the exact same job. And I just want to say, I know that when they came and y'all did the board action with the raises, that it was not an intentional act to create disparity to the Marshal's office, but sometimes perception is reality. People seem like, okay, well, these deputies seem more valuable than we are. We do the exact same job.
Yeah, you want to play? Yeah.
Shit right there for us that. And we're doing the exact same job. Now, if they gave the raises just to road patrol and we just gave the operation, then we'd be comparing apples to apples. But they gave the raises to the people in the courthouse. They gave to the people raises to the people doing in the jail. A jail deputy is making more than a road patrol deputy right now on the Marshal's office. And they gave raises to the transportation and the people CID. So all those raises have been handed out. So it's not just the people on road patrol. That's why I'm asking this commission today to approve what I'm asking for is going to be a total of $320,000. That would make us everything we need to give our people to have a compatible salary. And thank you I'll take any questions if y'all have any questions.
Thank you, Marshal Lampkin. Want to recognize Commissioner Don Clark from the 5th.
Hey, Marshal Lampkin, first of all, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Thanks for the presentation and the point of clarity for sure. I'd like to ask Madam Administrator if you could provide some clarity. I know, and first of all, before I say that, let me thank all of our men and women that consistently put their lives on the line in our county. That's the marshals, that's our first responders, and of course, Richmond County Sheriff's Office. I appreciate it greatly. We hear about a grateful nation, but I definitely want to make sure that we have a grateful community that acknowledges what you all do for us each and every day.
Thank you.
Madam Administrator, can you please provide clarity what steps that we take towards assisting the Sheriff's Office with their budget requests that they had brought previously?
Yes, sir. They actually, we had several meetings with the, at that time, incoming sheriff to discuss options for him to be able to actually move his pay scale up for the respective employees in his department. He actually gave back or did not proceed with hiring for 51 positions. So those funds were actually utilized to bring these employees in at the new rate, as well as to provide the respective increases to the other employees.
Right. Did we add anything to the budget to assist towards that, or can you kind of clarify that piece?
Not at this time. We have not added any additional funds to that project.
Okay.
Commissioner, may I chime in for a minute?
Yes, sir.
So I recognize that they gave up 51 positions. We didn't fill 51 positions. We just don't have that luxury because we're not as thick with personnel. Every person we have, they're doing a specific job. And I can't afford to give up any positions if we still want the same services that we're providing right now. Like I know a lot of you are used to when people call 301 and we get complaints and commissioners and everybody call, we are Johnny on the spot, get it done. Right now, we're not gonna be able to do that just because we don't have the personnel. We gotta maintain our mandatory programs first, which is the court, which is doing the security, which is doing evictions, which is doing serving papers. So all that stuff is going to take a back. But once we get back to personnel, we can do all those back to the same efficient we was doing it before. People call me Johnny on the spot, but we just can't give up any positions and give you the same amount of service which you're getting before we lost all these people.
All right. Chair recognizes Commissioner Tina Selenak from 7.
Thank you. Marshal Lampkin, just for my information, you said you lost 23 positions. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. What is your total manpower? I mean, if you were full, what?
Total, we had 115 total.
Okay.
That's 61 sworn. So that's 23 of the 61 that's sworn that's left.
Okay, so 23 out of your sworn people.
Out of my sworn people, out of 61 have left.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Commissioner Jordan Johnson, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Marshal Lampkin, what will be the impact of not having the 320 today? Will that impact the services that we currently have? I'm talking like the airport security, the security here, security at the courthouse?
No, we just reallocating our resources to do the stuff we have to do first. So all the stuff that we're doing proactive will not be done in an efficient manner. It's going to take a back seat. But all the stuff that we're mandated to do, security, because we can't have no incident happen in this building or the courthouse. We can have nothing happen in the airport. So all those things we're mandated to do, we're going to continue doing those. We're just taking all the proactive stuff like the enforcement, the dump stat, the probation, all that stuff going to have to be suspended until we can get back up to full manpower.
What is dump stat?
That's when we get everybody else together, like from different departments, and we come together, we work on our issues and trying to help clean the city up.
That's what Clean and Safe Augusta Initiative is?
That's what Clean and Safe Augusta Initiative is.
What about probation? What are you doing with probation?
Well, we were doing it 2 days a week, but now we're going to have to stop because we don't have the deputies to do it, so we're going to have to just, in that.
When you say do it, what are you doing?
We get with the state court, they provide us with probationers, and we go out twice a week and we clean up certain areas in the city that needs to be cleaned up. And we got a truck with trailer, we take it out to the landfill, whichever areas that y'all designate that need to be done, or we get recommendations from different departments, whatever need to be done, and we allocate those resources in those places to get cleaned up. And we do that twice a week.
And then lastly, what role have your department has played with the Homeless Task Force?
We actually did everything with the Homeless Task Force. It wasn't our initial responsibility. It was more of a sheriff's office thing, but we had Sean Rhodes here, who was by far the most expert in homeless stuff. So we kind of took that on, and we help out whenever we can because we recognize we have to keep Augusta clean and safe. So it doesn't matter about who role it is. We're just going to help get the city safe. So that's what we do.
Well, specifically, you were going into the encampments, right?
Going into the encampments, help cleaning them up, getting the homeless people help, getting them with showers, getting them bus passes. We did a whole lot with the homeless encampment trying to help them out.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And you got it. Commissioner Wayne Guilford I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good, Mayor. You are good. Mr. Lampkin, as far as, you losing these positions, you just lost them over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, is that correct?
2 weeks, yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, so it's my understanding, we all read the news from Augusta to Columbia County to North Augusta to Burt County. It seems like everybody's vying over the same officers, and that's what we're seeing. Blythe Police Department just lost their police chief to Burt County. Anytime there's a new sheriff coming into play, and usually it's my understanding that once you're a police officer, it's in your blood, and sometimes you lead because of leadership. And that's probably the reason why people went back to the sheriff's department, because they loved the thrill of a police officer. Not derogatory towards you by any means. I'm just saying that that's some reason. I've talked to a couple of the sheriff's department deputies, and that was the reason. But with you only missing these 21, 23 positions over these past 2 to 3 weeks, have you went through the HR process and tried to get them filled, or are you just actually raising the rate up to attract some of the people that left?
Actually, it's twofold. I'm trying to get new positions. I'm trying to get the raise so I can be competitive, and I'm looking for people now. So we had another person start today, actually. So we're still looking for talent at the salary we have now, but we're trying to be competitive and increase our salary so we can be more competitive to get more people, not just the people just left, but other people are looking for places that's from Atlanta, from other places. So we want to be competitive because we offer the best training, we offer the best culture environment, but you can't really get nobody to leave. If you're getting paid $11,000, $15,000 more, of course they're going to leave.
You're comparing that with the sheriff's department?
That's correct, and with Columbia County.
What about other Marshal departments throughout Georgia? What is their rate if we're going to be comparing?
Well, they're not as big as we are also, so we're comparing size to size. You got some marshal officers that only have 3 or 4 people, just like you have with Wren. So, of course, the salary in Wren is not going to be the salary of what's in Richmond County. So all those small marshal departments, they're going to compare to the salaries we have there because they don't have the personnel. They don't do what we do. And we just And it's one thing if you go around the state,
Right.
we're the biggest marshal's office. We're the only one to do the stuff we do. We're the only one to do the airport. We don't want to do all the security for the building. Most of them just do evictions and serve papers. That's it. So we kind of do
Right. The
all of it.
airport pays for your officers there.
That's correct.
And last month, we actually increased the salaries because of the working at night.
12-hour shifts.
That's right.
Working the holidays, and and it's all about we trying to make an effort to make our employees whole, to give them the best benefits they can. And you working at the airport and you doing 24 hours like everybody else. And
That's
you
right.
get paid with the road patrol. So
Right.
y'all passed that, and thank you for that.
Well, we appreciate you recognizing that the employees working 24 hours, all different weird shifts. But have you put these out there on the street, these empty positions, to see if you could get them filled with what you're offering now?
We have put it out, and we're actually going to do another social media big push here.
I mean, are you going through the HR process by chance?
No, we do our own. We don't go through the city resource HR because we advertise on our own. Because they don't go through any elected official, they don't go through the HR process with HR. They go through our stuff, and then once we get done, then we forward everything over to HR.
Okay. Out of these 21, 23 positions, what we looked at with my discussion with you at the Beasley Room, with the sheriff, he cut the 51 positions to make up the money for he could do what he needs necessary. As far as these 21 positions, if you cut 3 to 4, you'll have your monetary money that you're asking for.
But if I cut it, we won't be able to give you the services that we have. Like I said, the
4
sheriff's
people
office.
makes the difference
Yes, it
within your
does.
department to cut. Can you pull up that screen where you had services showing?
Yeah, that definitely make a difference. Let me back. Will you do that, Jeff, for me? So I tell you, so if you just look at sheer numbers, we only have 60 that's certified. The sheriff's office have 700. Well, 400 that's on the road. So if they lose 20, 30 people, that may be fine for them. If we lose 20 or 30,
But the
with only
sheriff's
60,
department over these past 5-7 years has been 180 positions down out of a.
And that's with help from us also, because my guys stop on calls, they stop on wrecks,
Right.
they go to burglaries. So they've been needing help from other agencies to sustain that. And they've been trying to get more deputies. That's why the old sheriff came and asked for raises. Y'all gave it to him because they was trying to get more people. But like I said, with them losing people and us losing people, we just don't have I want to say fluff, but we don't have, everybody's got a specific detail and that's what they're responsible for. We don't have the overhead like they have.
Right. I know that the previous sheriff gave out raises and we still lost staff. And that was in the presentation during our budget cycle that where the DA as well as the sheriff was coming before us, the newly elected sheriff, shall I say.
That's well, then we'll tell you this, that culture plays a big part. And a lot of y'all talk to a lot of our deputies and they talk about.
Oh, you got some of the finest people.
And they talk about the culture at the Marshal's office. So if I truly believe wholeheartedly, one for the money, we'll still be where we was at.
Okay.
And 2 of the people that left is the sheriff and the chief deputy. I mean, so of course they leaving. I mean,
Right. Well, you was here during the whole process, with the DA and the sheriff. If I'm taking up too much time, just let me know, Mayor. But you've seen what we put the administrator through, trying to find the money for the DA as well as the sheriff's department. And to be truthful, she ain't found it yet. So what I did was ask every elected official, look in your own department first before you come before this body. And that's what I'm asking.
I did, sir.
And nothing?
Nothing. We can't cut. We are very slim with the budget, and we can't cut positions. I looked, and when y'all was having those conversations, I was having conversations too, and I said, what's the best avenue for me to bring it up to the commission so I can get on the list too and not just leave us out? Because that's what I didn't want to have happen is y'all award one agency and don't do the other one. And I understand that they gave 51 positions up, but we just don't have the positions to give up to get the raises what we need. That's why I'm asking for this body's help to get that done.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Guilfoyle. Marshal, I have a quick question. You
Yes, sir.
mentioned the pay differential for the officers that work at the airport.
That's correct, sir.
Help me understand your normal marshal deputies. Do they rotate shifts or work around the clock? What is their schedule?
No, sir. They Monday through Friday, weekends off, holidays off, and then from 8:30 to 5, we have a 10-hour shift on the road, and then we have an 8-hour shift on the road. The court service, they do the same thing, 8:30 to 5, weekends off. When this building's closed, they're closed. Now, on the weekends, we have security personnel that run this building, but no actual certified deputy is here. But anytime this building's open, For the public, certified deputies here. So for the majority, most of our people work Monday through Friday, weekends, holidays off, but only the airport works 24 hours a day, holidays, weekends, and all of that.
Now, in my opinion, I would agree that the folks at the airport that's working around the clock should deserve something very comparable to our sheriff's deputies. However, somebody working Monday through Friday, when you got road patrol deputies that are working around the clock on holidays and time away from the family, shouldn't be entitled to a similar pay structure. That's just my opinion.
Well, I would normally agree with you, Mayor, but he didn't just give it to the road patrol. He gave it to the people that work Monday through Friday too, weekends off and all that stuff. If he just gave it to road patrol, then you would have some validity to your argument, but he didn't. He gave it to everybody.
Well, thank you, sir. Commissioner Francine Scott.
Yes, and I know we were supposed to have a timer to do all of this, but
Yeah, we
have a timer
ran over
here.
a little
But
bit.
I'm just saying, Mr. Mayor. But we just cannot give 3 criminal justice agencies something and not the other. I think the marshals do a great job. We also have to understand that they're doing, if we do nothing, we're going to be lacking leaving some stuff, service out. I would like to make a motion that the Marshal office get with the administrator and come up with approving something that we can make them whole. Because we can't, we talk about clean and safe all the time. This part would go away first because we do need safety. And clean safety is a paramount for this ask. So I'm asking the Marshal administrator to get together and bring back a resolution, and I would like to have it done maybe in 3 weeks.
I second that.
All right, there's a motion, there's a second. Commissioner Mason, I see you in the queue, sir. Would you like to add?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just very quickly, I want to have some clarity on the statement of making them whole, because even that amount is not making them whole, it's just making them a little better. So I wouldn't use the terminology of Commissioner Scott of making them whole, because now you're talking about probably another $300,000 and $400,000 added on to that would put it there. So I just have a issue with the term making them whole.
Duly noted, sir.
All right, duly noted. Madam Clerk, we have a motion in a second for the Marshal to get with our Madam Administrator. See if we can work some sort of resolution without being made whole.
Semi-whole.
Semi-whole.
Yeah.
According to the commissioner from the 4th. Commissioner from the 9th, you're still in the queue. You good, madam? Can we vote? Yes. All right, we're ready to vote, Madam Clerk.
You should go. You good? Okay. It's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Marshal Lampkin, thank you for being here, you and your staff.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. All right, Madam Clerk, that takes us to item number 17.
Item 17 is a motion to approve award of the RFP 2030-300 State Lobbying and Legislative Representation Services to Holland and McKnight LLP, pending final contract negotiation.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mayor Pro Tem Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been on this floor for the past 2 years. I have yet to see any benefit coming out of hiring a lobby. That was presented to us from the previous administrator out of Atlanta, and I'd like to make a motion to deny this.
I'll second that.
All right, there's a motion to deny with a second. Any colleagues in the queue? Seeing no colleagues, in Commissioner Jordan Johnson.
Yes, sir. I wanted to make sure that before we do this, that we know for certain that we haven't received any benefit from it. I mean, I know that over the last few years, they've presented support on a few things, and I may be thinking of a different lobbyists, but I don't think that I am. But I think before we do this, maybe we get a report back as to what that company has brought us before we just assume that we hadn't gotten any support from them. And I don't know, maybe our administrator, Alan, I don't know if you know off the top of your mind right now, but can you think of anything that we've gotten, or would you need time to go back and compile that?
Yes, sir. This company actually was instrumental in the C-SPLOS. I'm not sure this process was started before I became administrator. However, I do recall this company being very active in the C-SPLOS for the James Brown Arena.
Okay. Yeah, I think we should, do an assessment first to see what did this company bring us versus just blanketly saying that we hadn't gotten any support from them. So I'll make a substitute motion to have the administrator compile a report and bring it back to us at our next commission meeting.
Second.
All right, there's a motion, there's a second substitute motion, that is to bring the lobbying firm back.
Yes, sir.
Provide
A
an
report,
assessment for a
administrator.
report. All right. Madam Clerk? Commissioner Clark?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner, could we put a time frame on that so that we can? Next commission meeting? Okay, thank you.
Next commission meeting. All right. Madam Clerk, let's vote on that substitute motion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, can I just make a note that this contract actually expired on December 31st, and we are asking them to assist us in our meeting with the local delegation that is going to be scheduled for tomorrow. So I just want to make sure this company has continuously worked with us to try to make sure that we had all of the information and the different conversations that are necessary for some of the items that we'll be discussing.
Follow-up question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Johnson.
How much is this contract for?
This contract is roughly around $99,000. It is a decrease from what the previous contract is for. If you would note, we still have on here pending contract negotiations. We have, went through the RFP process. We only received responses from 2 companies. We went through the whole process of them actually doing a presentation and coming back with their best and final offer. This company was the best one to meet the qualified needs to give the actual services that were requested. But that contract is actually pending. So I know Commissioner Guilfoyle has brought some concerns as it relates to some of the things that they have done. We can make sure that is incorporated in that final contract and bring that back to your attention.
So let me ask you this before we vote on the substitute, because I'll withdraw if necessary. Do you believe that this RFP is ready to be voted on today? I see it says pending final contract negotiations, but would you be comfortable with the passage today?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and has that $99,000 already been budgeted?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll withdraw my substitute motion, Mr. Mayor, and I'll make another substitute motion to approve.
Sir, there's a substitute motion to approve with a proper second from Commissioner Tony Lewis. Commissioner Francine Scott, you have the floor, madam. All right, substitute motion is to approve.
Yes, sir. That's what it is.
All right, we ready to vote?
Well,
I'm sorry, Commissioner Clark.
yeah, Mr. Mayor, Madam Administrator, can you clarify? So our contract is expired with them, you said, correct?
Yes,
right
our
now?
contract expired on December 31st. This was an actual bid that had started prior to September.
Right.
We got the proposals back in. We had to restart that process over, and when we met and discussed, the 2 options of the 2 vendors that actually responded to the actual RFP, this one was the best responsive bidder.
Yeah, and the reason I asked if, so are they, you said they're assisting us with our meeting.
That had already started. The discussions had already started prior. That's correct.
Put things together.
That's correct. They were already working on this.
Without a contract. So this is.
They were working up until the end of the year. They were working with us to get prepared for our actual meeting that we were having. Originally, our meeting was scheduled before the new elected bodies came on board. Mm-hmm. So they were helping get us prepared for that. And then the meeting, of course, has changed to the 8th. And so now they have continued to be there to assist us in that process.
Okay. And again, I'm the new kid on the block. So apologies for, the questions that I may not understand. But so when it comes to the interaction with this company. How have we kind of stipulated that? Is it designated to where they only respond to you and the legal office? Do they respond to the governing body directly? How is that kind of divvied up?
Those are some of the things that we can actually make sure are in the contract. I understand there was some concerns that there was not enough interaction with the governing body during our last contract. We'll make sure that that is actually incorporated in this contract, that they would actually sit down with each of you respectively and see what are some of the things that you would like to see get done and through the state approval.
So with that being said, then that kind of puts us back in that substitute motion that Commissioner Johnson brought up, that there's still some clarity that we need to ensure is in place before we move forward. Because if we vote for it now, it's a done deal, right?
No, sir. You're voting pending contract negotiations. So if we don't come to a means, and both of us agree, the vendor as well as the city, and of course our legal team will be involved, then it won't go anywhere.
Okay.
This is just pending negotiations.
So further discussion, further negotiations until we come to a consensus of what everyone wants and otherwise, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Then does it come back before the governing body for approval?
At that point, we don't have to bring it back. Am I correct, Jim? Because it's already going to be, if you prove it pending negotiations, and long as the law department is good with the actual, I will keep you updated to make sure the things that you want are incorporated in it.
You could do it either way. You could have it subject to the approval of the administrator and only come back this one vote, or alternatively, you could have it come back. If I may, I worked with Holland and Knight with the C-SPLOS for about 2 years. They did provide services in helping to edit. They got us in communications with the lieutenant governor, a lot of the staff and things of that nature. And so I'm not advocating necessarily to do it or not, but the point of it is that you have ongoing relationships with lobbyists, and they help structure the things that you may need, whether or not it is in this calendar year or the following calendar year. You're developing relationships with them. And they do provide, if you have that need, they can provide some expertise. Holland & Knight is a very large law firm, but they have lobbyists in that area, and Marcy is one of the people they work with. And they have 2 lobbyists that have a lot of connections within the state.
Yeah, and I just think for me, I would be more comfortable just that we clarify all the expectations before we approve, stating, hey, let's go ahead and approve the contract, because then things get a little muddy then. And they're not as clear and succinct if we just say, hey, we're going to approve right now with the understanding that, yeah, eventually we'll talk about and kind of bring the concerns together, because how would we even do that? I mean, would we have to come together as a group and give you the concerns and then vote on it again? That's the part that I'm saying I would rather it not be that muddy, that we can kind of make it a lot more clear.
Commissioner Clark, one of the things that you could do if the substitute motion was in the form of directing, approving the administrator negotiating a contract with subject to those terms and bringing it back to the body for approval, that would be fine. We just need to, I think that would be the more appropriate concern in light of y'all's concerns.
Yeah, I just think it would be a lot cleaner, and that way they have expectations up front from the governing body as opposed to going into it kind of half-hearted and not as clean as it needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Johnson, I'm going to come to you, but I got Commissioner Pulliam in the queue first.
Well, thank you, Mayor Johnson. To echo Commissioner Johnson as well as Commissioner Clark, I was going to ask that Commissioner Johnson edit his substitute motion to include those things. It is imperative that we vote on this now. We are in session, and so not going into session prepared for battle that's just a knock against us. So we need this right now. And if we need to evaluate anything during the year, let's evaluate it during the year and decide what we want to do when this contract comes up again. So I think that's important.
Thank you, Commissioner Pulliam. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, sir. I was going to incorporate that into my motion. Right. So we want to just have those recommendations come back before the commission for approval.
For approval. All right. Is there a second to that? Same second? Second by Commissioner Francine Scott. Let's vote on that.
Motions on the floor. So you wanted Mr. Lewis, did you accept that? I guess that can go.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so the substitute motion. All right, let's vote. Everybody clear what we're voting on? All right, let's go.
Excuse me. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
You're going to get something
Wait a
back to
second.
look at.
Commissioner Tina Slindak.
Could the clerk read again what we're voting on?
Yes.
Substitute motion was to allow the administrator to do the approval of the RFP subject to the administrator meeting with the lobbyist firms for negotiations, which will return to the commission for final approval.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Jordan.
All right, thank you. All right.
Motion carries, it's unanimous.
All right, Madam Clerk, let's move on. Number 18.
18 is approval proposal submitted by the University of Georgia Carl Vinson Institute of Government with assistance in conducting the Augusta Richmond County Charter Review and the Augusta Richmond County Charter Review Committee on resolution draft.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
ma'am.
This is an issue that's been dragging on and dragging on. I'm asking for a motion to approve it today so we can move forward. With this review, our community desperately needs it. I'm going to recognize Commissioner George Johnson from the first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know at our last conversation, we all had some conversations about whether elected officials and all should be on the board. And, I don't think that they should. So if I could make a motion, sir, to approve this item, but with the amendment added to our resolution to have one legislative appointment and to have a referendum. Have the recommendations that come back from the legislature to go to a referendum.
That will be in the form of a substitute motion?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is there a second to that? There's a second by Commissioner, bless you, by Commissioner Tony Lewis.
It's not a substitute.
Yeah, he put that as a substitute motion. To approve as is. All right. Commissioner Don Clark.
Mr. Mayor, if I can get a point of clarity to my colleague from the first. So you're proposing a substitute motion to approve as is with those two additionals?
No.
Okay. And you got a second already, so we can have a discussion, right?
Yeah, we're going
to. Okay, thank you. Excuse my newness. And I think, we've talked about this before. You all have, anyways, prior to Commissioner Slindak and I coming on board. And if someone can please jog my memory, the discussion that we had about the addendum piece, and then the other piece was what again, Commissioner Johnson?
May I respond, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So we were having conversation about the resolution that we were sending to Carl Vinson to get the study done. I believe it was going to cost us, I think Ms. Allen or Tim said 3-something maybe. We were going to take that out of the capital fund, and there was a set number of deliverables, right? Time frame, what we're looking at, all those things. But we went back and forth on if elected officials or former elected officials should have a seat on that board. I think we all agree at this point that that might not be the right thing for the committee and the efficiency of that committee, but incorporating our delegation into it, having one legislative delegation member, one legislative appointment, and then having whatever comes back from the legislature. Because after it goes through our cycle, it's going to go to the legislature. Whatever comes back, we put it on the ballot to allow for a vote.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor and colleagues, I kind of have some pause and reservation on that piece. I know I've heard this topic brought up over and over again about the need for making sure, because all of us are nonpartisan, and making it a nonpartisan conversation, a nonpartisan decision. When we insert the delegation into it, that means we're automatically inserting the partisan aspect. They are broken down by Republicans and Democrats. It's no way to get away from that. And now we're saying the one member from the delegation, so that means our delegation of Republicans and Democrats would have to vote
One member or one person.
unanimously or otherwise, to come up with that member. I think for me, and this is just me, and I've listened to this one for quite a while, I think if we're going to move forward with this, we need to move forward with the understanding that each of us as individual commissioners and the mayor are presenting individual community members to represent that committee for changing of a legacy document. This is something that is very imperative and important to us as a community. But I just think inserting that partisan piece of it, I don't, if we're gonna take out the elected officials, and I think we all agree why, then we need to make sure that we try to safeguard the partisan aspect. We are all nonpartisan in our roles, and I think we need to stay as balanced in that regard as possible.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Johnson, you still in the queue, sir?
Yes, sir. I don't necessarily disagree, Commissioner. I think in this regard, you know, with both parties, I understand, like, so originally we said one Democrat and one Republican, which was problematic. But I think coming here now saying just one person appointed by the Augusta Legislative Delegation, which are Democrats and Republican, somewhat is a bipartisan effort. And I look at it from this perspective as well. We have boards here in our city that have legislative appointments on them as well. And so I'm not looking at it from the partisan perspective. I'm looking at it from the perspective that whatever the committee comes up with will have to go to the legislature anyway. And then once it gets to the legislature, it's going to have to go through both chambers. And so, you know, having someone essentially represent that body, just like we're having someone represent this body, I think would be in order. It's not Democrat, it's not Republican, is those members unanimously deciding who they would like to have on that board. If that's not, you know, feasible, then okay, I understand, but I want to just clear that up. It's not both parties coming up with one person, each party. It's one delegation coming up with a representative to represent them, just as we're asking one representative per district to represent us. And then, of course, the referendum. Now, again, this is a substitute motion. We can bring it up or down. I would be willing to amend if necessary, but I just wanted to clear up that I'm not specifically talking about the Democrat or Republican Party. I think we're all tired of that, even me. Yeah, I am. But one appointment from the entire delegation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Madam Clerk, we have a motion in the second. I'm sorry, Attorney Plunkett.
Mr. Mayor, I may have missed this, but procedurally, I believe you asked for a motion, and there wasn't a motion to approve as. I think that the primary motion is actually Mr. Johnson's motion.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So there's no substitute.
There's no substitute. All right. All right. Mayor Pro Tempore Wayne.
I'd like to motion to approve as stated. What we have.
His would be a substitute.
So, all right. Point of clarity. Turn on your mic, Commissioner Francine Scott.
Point of clarity. Now,
your mic is going in and out. All right.
I'm just trying to get a point of clarity. What we are voting on, the substitute that Mr. Johnson?
No, Mr. Johnson's motion is the primary motion.
Okay.
And Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle's is a substitute motion that does not right now have a second. So Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle, as a substitute motion, has asked for approval as is. Is there a second to that substitute
Second.
motion? There's a second by Commissioner Don Clark. All right, we're going to vote on the substitute motion to approve as is. All right, Commissioner Stacy Pulliam.
Thank you so much, Mayor Johnson. Can I hear the substitute motion again, because I kind of got lost in the shuffle?
It's in the book.
Oh, substitute as is. Okay.
As is.
The caption.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Pass as is. All right, Commissioner McKnight, you in the queue? All right. Substitute motion is to pass as is. Madam Clerk, we're voting.
That motion carries 6-4 with Ms. McKnight Rice. Mr. Mason, Mr. Clark, Mr. Guilfoyle, Mayor Johnson. Voting no, Mr. Johnson, Ms. Pulliam, Mr. Lewis, and Ms. Scott.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That takes us to item number 19.
Item 19 is to hire a full-time certified EMA director for Augusta Richmond County and task the Human Resources Department to begin search protocol.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I put this item on the agenda, and let me preface my comments by saying that our current EMA director, fire chief, during this Hurricane Helene recovery has done a phenomenal job. He and his staff and our firefighters were out there with us from day one. They continue to help us distribute goods and to offer services to our community. And this is no knock on him. I believe now, a community our size, we need to be prepared for the next emergency. That requires someone to be a full-time, dedicated employee to ensuring that our community is prepared and safe. This job also is going to require an enormous amount of recovery. You can't imagine that. The storm is over, we're still cleaning up, but we still have a lot of work to do in regards to recouping some of our dollars from our federal and state partners, and having someone that's full-time in that role will essentially pay for themselves. So it is my ask of this body for our community that we restore a full-time EMA director to Augusta Richmond County to ensure the safety of our residents and to provide protections as we move forward to plan better for future disasters, because they will continue happening, unfortunately, and we need to be prepared. So with that being said, I open up to the floor. I see Commissioner Catherine Smith Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to say I appreciate what you had to say, and I would want to put this into a motion to approve it. Go ahead and approve it today.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle. Commissioner Jordan Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few questions. I know that we have had this conversation sometimes, and I think it's a worthy conversation, but I wanted to ask about, how we're going to fund this. And let's just start there. Ms. Allen, if I could, do we have it budgeted to hire a full-time EMA director?
Right now, there is an assistant, a deputy position in the EMA budget for the EMA respective duties. However, any addition in which this one would have to be reclassified, so that position would be able to be reclassified, and then we will be able to, advertise as an EMA director position.
So essentially, the deputy position would go away, and it would become the full-time EMA director?
At this time, yes.
Okay. Would that EMA director need any kind of staff to work under them?
Actually, there is somebody that's assigned in that, another position that is actually a part of that department as well, currently.
How many people is that?
So right now, there are 2. There were originally 3 before I guess the decision was rendered to have an EMA director, fire department, fire chief, but it was 2 positions still in that department.
And what do they do?
One was the actual deputy that I was referring to, and the other was an EMA specialist, I think is the title of that position.
Okay. So essentially there would be an EMA director and then the EMA specialist?
Yes, sir.
So just 2 people would be managing EMA for Richmond County?
Yes, sir.
What we need to, does that suffice? Is that enough people?
I can't answer that, Commissioner Johnson. Other agencies, it all depends on how you're going to actually function the actual office. I wouldn't expect that person to be working by themselves, because it's going to take a team effort. Like, all of us are working together as a team and assisting with the fire department, and everybody has to come together.
Yes, ma'am. So I guess my only concern is that if we make the move, which might be a good move, but if we make the move, that we also should take into consideration any additional staff that's going to have to come along with that, and budgets. I don't want us to lose sight of that, and then we create another funding need. We're already talking about the Marshal and others. I don't want to have to create an additional funding need once we've already given the fire chief money to be the EMA director and everything else. And so I would feel more comfortable if we had a better understanding of, what the long term would look like versus just hiring a director and then handling it when we get there. But that's just my little 2 cents,
Yes, sir.
But I just wanted to put that in for the record.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for the administrator. Can I ask questions?
Yes, sir.
Madam Administrator, as far as the EMA director, right now the fire chief is being supplemented to be the EMA director. As far as the funding for him is coming out of the fire department, would that be correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. As far as the fire department, why can't we supplement whatever this EMA director as well as his staff come out of the fire department as well? It's basically the same thing.
Well, the other items, the other two positions are in a separate budget. And at that time, and I'll, just to give a little history, the EMA director previously, and I think it's according to the charter, actually reports to the mayor's office.
They do.
And so what happened, and, these are some years, and please, forgive me if I misspeak on it. And so it was combined where the EMA and the fire chief some number of years ago. But that actually still kept the separate budget because we actually did have an EMA office. And we've had several EMA directors back in the past.
Right.
So they still kept those budgets separate. So I guess to answer your question, it would have to come from that actual budget as opposed to the fire chief's budget.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You got it. Let me remind my colleagues that Augusta Richmond County is the only county I think that surrounds us that does not have a full-time EMA director. Even Augusta University has a full-time person that's on staff for disaster preparedness. Of course, all of our other neighbors do. I think there's no other city our size in the state of Georgia that does not have a full-time EMA director. For our citizens, they deserve this. They deserve to be properly prepared, properly notified by somebody that specializes in emergency management to when we have disasters. We're fortunate they don't happen often, but when they do happen, there's a lot of work. So the question was posed to me, well, what will they do when we don't have a disaster? It's kind of like having insurance. You're preparing, you're doing drills, you're coordinating with sister agencies. If the person were hired now, they'd be helping us recoup our dollars through FEMA and GEMA and grants and a lot of other opportunities. So I assure you, this department, especially now recovering from Hurricane Helene, will pay for itself. So that's my ask for the community. Commissioner Clark.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, real quick. Madam Administrator, so I know the motion is coming up to vote on this up or down, but I think however we go with this, I think we need to make sure that if there is a model for how this should be structured, if there is clarity about, all those specifics, I'm sure that's going to come through this process. HR and your team will be the ones kind of leading that and making sure that we're all kind of informed if it is voted up or down, however it goes, how that would look.
Yes, sir. We would have to actually probably have some discussion as it relates to the funding because, of course, as I've stated, it's just a deputy position right now.
Right.
So contingency funds would have to be utilized to actually get, to whatever salary grade. We'll have to, get with HR to determine what the respective salary grade is because we have not had one in quite some time. We can look in the history and see what we had previously, but we need to make sure it equates to what we currently have as our pay structure now.
All right. So no other colleagues in the queue. Madam Clerk, let's vote.
That motion carries 8-2 with Mr. Tony Lewis and Mr. Jordan Johnson voting no.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move on. I think that takes us to item 20.
Item 20 is a motion to approve and award the disaster debris monitoring service contract to Goodwin Mills Kaywood. Contract award is subject to receipt of signed agreements and require other relevant documents. The agreement initial term is 3 years with 2 subsequent 1-year renewals.
All right. It was not consented. Madam Administrator, anything you need to add to this agreement that we have in place? I think this is pretty straightforward, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
Second. All right, there's a motion and a second. Commissioner Jordan Johnson, I see you in the queue, sir.
No, I'm sorry.
All right, there's a motion to approve in a second. Madam Clerk, we're voting.
It's unanimous.
Madam Clerk, I think that takes us to 25.
Yes, sir. Item 25 is a motion to approve auditing the Parks and Recreation Department.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Catherine Smith Rice. Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This was on the, of course, this has been on the agenda. It was on there last year. Former Commissioner Franham had put it on there, and I had even put it on a couple of years ago. The reason why I'm bringing this back up is, and this has nothing to do, I want to congratulate Mrs. Tamika Williams on her, is it the first day of your job today? Second day. Okay. I want to say that you being a new director, give you a fresh perspective coming in with a clean slate. But in the past, I want to say that what we've had is, the money in that department has been ill spent. We've discussed it. Nothing against you, Mr. Charles Jackson, because you've done a great job since we've had to have you as an interim. But the money, no money has been spent in the past for improvements at, for instance, Lake Olmsted, Fleming Park, Diamond Lakes, that's to name a few. In the past, no real documentation, explanations, from our former director. There were questions about trips and catered lunches, and the list goes on. But, some of these elements were discussed in 2024. And it's time that we do that going back, because I don't want it to come back later on and something show up that there's been spending in that department that is just not making sense. And so we've discussed this. We discussed it last year, and so I have it on today to up or down it to approve an audit, Parks and Recs. And this way, this gives a clean slate for you, because I'm looking forward to you coming on board. But anyway, motion to either up or down it. If anybody wants to chime in, I'd love to hear what they have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Rice. There is a motion to approve it. Is there a second before I get into the queue? All right, there's a second by Commissioner Tina Slindak. Commissioner Johnson, you're in the queue, sir.
Yes, sir. I think that we may finally be at a point in our government to where, transparency and honesty is valued. And what I have come to understand over the past few months is that Parks and Recreation is not the only department that has some questionable spends, that has been under review, that is under scrutiny. I think from a general perspective, our government needs the rug to be swept. And I want to propose that we audit our entire government.
Hey, I'll second that.
And here's my thought. I mean, here's the thing. We say this every budget cycle, and we say this every other time that we start having conversations about transparency and integrity in our government. That we don't know where every dollar is spent. We don't know if these processes or procedures are actually being followed. We just don't know. And I think if we really want to have a clean slate for this government, we look at our entire government. As much as Parks and Recreation needs an audit, we all read those articles. I think this government needs to come to Jesus meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. You want to put that in the form of a
I will make it
motion?
into a form of a substitute motion, but what I will also say is we need to make sure that we are pointed in what we're looking for as well. Because I think the last time Commissioner McKnight supported the Parks and Rec audit, it was mentioned to us that we should have a list of what we're looking for. Because if not, we're just going to get what we usually get with Malden and Jenkins. So if this is the route that we're going to take, and I wholeheartedly support auditing our entire city government for waste, for malfeasance, the whole 9 yards, we should have a listing of what we're exactly looking for.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. With a substitute motion, is there any second to that?
I'll second that substitute and pull off that approve the auditing for parks. I'll take that off because I've been wanting a full audit, and I'm glad that my colleague from District 1 has brought it too, that he wants to see this done, I'm all for it. So I'll second that, as a temptation, say, second that motion. You got it.
There's a second. Could we at least make it an agreement that we start with Parks and Rec? Is that, if we were to start somewhere? Yes, sir, Commissioner Johnson.
Could we potentially come back at the next committee with a list of what we're looking for?
You got it.
A list of what we're looking for.
Okay.
So that we can have a clear direction as to what we're auditing, and again, the type of audit that we're looking for, because this isn't forensic. This would be an in-depth audit, but we would need to give our auditor some type of direction. So it's a start.
It's a start. And, you know, I was talking to our sheriff yesterday, and our sheriff, as you know, he requires some accounting of his funds as a new sheriff. So I think it, you know, perhaps it makes sense. So Commissioner Stacy Pulliam, Madam, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. I believe it's Interim Director Schreier. Is that correct? Is that the right title?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. Wanted to make sure I said it correctly. I have a couple of questions. My first one being, what current audits do we perform in each department?
We have an annual financial audit for all our departments. That is done by Malden and Jenkins.
And what information do we get from those audits?
That is a report on the government as a whole. So they don't do a deep dive into each department. They will do a sample from the government as a whole. If there are issues, then we'll do a little bit deeper dive. But as a whole, it's just for the government operations overall.
Okay. So does each department have to turn in their financials to you on a monthly basis, or are they turning that in to the administrator? How do we monitor each department's financials?
My department monitors the operations of the financial operations of the departments. That's part of their jobs.
Okay.
So they do that on a monthly basis. They report that to me.
Okay. And so then you in turn take that information and you turn it over to the auditing firm that we...
The auditing team gets everything that has happened during the year. They get the trial balance from January 1st through December 31st. They get that, and then we provide them whatever supplemental information they request.
Okay. So this audit that we're doing, which we don't know exactly what we're looking for at the moment, but we are going to be discussing that. This audit will potentially uncover more things than we currently are uncovering.
It depends on what the questions that are being asked. If at the financial level, they have a higher level that they're looking at are the financial statements representing the government as a whole, are they fairly presented? From what I'm understanding is you're looking for a little bit deeper dive into operations and procedures and policies that each department. So do these departments follow the policies and procedures that are prescribed? If that's my current understanding, ma'am.
But we currently don't, every department doesn't have all the policies and procedures, because we discussed that last year. I actually presented that to the commission, and we're going to revisit that. So right now, to my understanding, I know the administrator's tied up. Okay, Administrator Allen, do you know where we are at on that as far as the departments turning in their SOPs, standard operating procedures, and us going through the policies and procedures? I know we kind of transitioned, had the hurricane, all of that stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
So definitely we need to pick that back up, because if that's not in place, then what are we auditing, which is where the conversation kind of left off at last year. So one moment, but Administrator Allen, where are we at on that with our policies and procedures from each department?
We have actually put it on hold for right now because we're doing the operational reviews, which are scheduled for next week, when we will meet, the administrative team will be meeting with each of the respective departments, and we have a list of things that we'll be discussing. The standard operating procedures is one of those items, so we will have a full report back when we finish these departmental operational reviews on next week.
So, Mr. Chair, and I know you, let me just ask it the way I'm going to ask it. So because there were not necessarily certain policies and procedures in place, anything that we're auditing.
What we're auditing is the financial records of the organization.
Okay.
So if there's a policy violation if there's a violation of a policy for how a requisition for travel was done, no, the Malden and Jenkins would not catch that because that's not part of their scope of their work. Unless there was a financial impact to that, they will check that, they will check that. If that's part of their sample that gets pulled, was it authorized, was it approved, was it paid properly? If that was part of the random sample, yes, we would find that. But to do a deep dive for that, for the entire organization, no, that's not what they do.
So I understand that's not what they do, but the audit that we are going to be doing is based off of the policies and procedures Parks and Direct had at that time or lack of policies and procedures they had at that time. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. So we are looking for something that may not be there because we don't even know what policies and procedures they had in place as to how to report certain things. Correct. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so is that what we're wanting to do? Mayor Johnson, may I please direct my question to Commissioner Rice?
Yes, ma'am, you may.
Yeah, I'm
So
sorry.
that's what we're doing?
I'm sorry, I was throwing something away. Repeat real quick, Commissioner Pulliam.
Yes, ma'am. So my question to Interim Director Schreier was, what are we exactly looking for? And I know we're going to come up with that, but we are in fact going to be auditing policies and procedures that may have been or may not have been in place. So why would we be doing an audit? What's our reasoning for doing an audit on something that may or may not have been there, just to uncover?
Are we talking specifically about Parks and Recs or with everything? If we're
Yes,
talking
ma'am, with
about
Parks and Recs.
I mean, like our community centers, spending and expenditures, yes, I think we do need to be auditing that. So are you on board with that?
So it's not necessarily a matter of being on board with it. It's what do we have in the account right now? What are we trying to uncover? Are we trying to uncover a possible misappropriation of funds? But even if we are, if those policies and procedures were not in place, what are we looking for?
It's the spending part of it. I want to see everything, a full scope of what's been spent and what's been going on in the past couple of years in that department and other departments. But if we're going to start with Parks and Recs, let's look at what's being spent. I don't have an idea of each expenditure, but I know it needs to be looked at, especially from what you hear and see. I just know that the certain our Lake Olmsted, okay, Fleming, Diamond Lakes. I want to see the numbers. I want to see what's been spent there. I want to see why they don't operate the way that they should be operating.
Thank you. So it's an operational.
Yeah, and operational is about what I brought up a couple of years ago that we had all approved of. So yeah, I think I'm wanting to see an audit regardless of the spending. I'd like to see a full report of it, of everything that's been spent in the past couple of years.
Okay, so thank you, Mayor Johnson, for allowing me to address Commissioner Rice. Back to Interim Director Schreier, what Commissioner Rice just stated as far as operation and seeing exactly where the money is that something we're currently not doing in our auditing practices?
Not at the level that is being requested. We can have the auditors come in and review every transaction to make sure that they follow our proper procedures and policies for issuing payments. Operationally, that's a little outside of my realm, because does that include, was this park properly operated? Don't know. Was it properly maintained? Again, that's more of an operational audit that I'm not familiar with. But as far as were the expenses properly coded, were they properly authorized? Yes, we can look at that. That can be done.
Okay. I definitely think we need more discussion on this. And so since we're going to bring it back and discuss exactly what it is we are looking for, we need to detail that, because at this point, with a new director coming in and we're starting new, and the policies and procedures were not necessarily there. We just need more clarity on exactly what we're doing. Okay, thank you so much, Mayor Johnson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Interim
Commissioner
Director Schreier.
Thank you, Director Scherer. Commissioner, Mayor Pro Tem Wayne Guilfoyle.
Thank you. Can I speak with the Interim Finance Director, please? Timmy, you thought you were gone.
I thought so.
Yeah, our yearly audit's basically what is a snapshot of our spending or the cost or expenditures on any department. It's kind of like the IRS. If any red flags are being thrown up, expenditures, marketing, food, et cetera, they're going to dig deeper.
Correct. They have parameters, and they do algorithms to say, we take a sample of X.
Right.
Based on the internal controls that we have, if those samples are correct and based on our history, we can assume, or we have an surety that the other transactions are handled correctly. If there's an anomaly or something wrong with one of those transactions, they will step back and say, we need to expand our search. We need to expand our examination.
That's correct. So as far as what we have on the agenda item number 25 to approve a audit in for the Parks and Recs Department, we actually had that budgeted in your department. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay. And what we went out for audit last year somehow failed for numerous reasons, shall I say. There was actually a scope of services attached to that agenda item.
Yes, sir, there was.
Okay. And I prefer if we have an auditor, they do it here in this building and not to be done via computer and they live in another state, et cetera. So if the maker of the substitute motion, if we're going to have a further discussion, we do have the budgeted amount for the Parks and Recs Department. We know that. We don't have enough budgeted to do the entire government at this time, but if you want to take baby steps, let's do the Parks and Recs and then find the funding to do the next department. Would the maker of that motion be willing to accept that? And we follow the same scope of services that we had going out last year for the same department for the same reason.
I have a question about the funding. How much was that audit going to cost us?
I believe it was between $75,000 and $100,000.
How much do you think a full audit of our government would cost us?
An in-depth audit?
In-depth audit. I feel like
it would be a multi-year process, and it would be between $1 million and $2 million.
I tell you what, I'm gonna withdraw my motion and allow the main motion to still be on the floor.
Thank you.
And we'll go from there. But I mean, I have a hard time just spending $75,000 to $100,000 at a time just to look at one department when the majority of us up here knows for a fact that there are other departments that are in desperate need of review. So I withdraw. But I'll be back.
All right, let's call for the question. I've been hinting at. Let's vote this up or down. Is it the main motion? Is there a motion and is there a second? I know Commissioner Catherine Rice made the motion. Commissioner Tina Slinette seconding it. Correct. All right, we're gonna vote on the main motion, Madam Clerk. Motion to approve the auditing Parks and Recreation Department.
clarity, I know we're voting, but just clarity, is this operational or is this scope of work from the last item? Scope of work? Okay.
They're gone. They're out. That motion carries 7-1 with Ms. Scott voting no. Mr. Mason, Mr. Lewis, out.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Colleagues, I need your time for about 2 or 3 minutes. We have to go to legal for less than 5 minutes. Attorney Plunkett.
That is correct. It's a very brief legal session, but if we could have a motion to go into legal session to discuss pending and potential litigation, real estate, and personnel, please, sir.
Motion, please. There's a motion. Is there a second? Motion by Commissioner Rice. Is second by Commissioner Johnson. Let's vote, Madam Clerk. Oh,
They're out. That motion.
all right, we're now suspended for a few minutes to legal session. Madam Clerk, are we set up in the new one? We need to go to our old.
No, sir. We're in our old room.
Oh, we're going to the old guys, old place. Commissioner Rice, we're waiting on you so we can go home. All right, Madam Clerk, call this meeting back to order. Attorney Plunkett.
Mr. Mayor, we would ask for a motion to authorize the mayor to execute the closed meeting affidavit.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and there's a second by Commissioner Johnson. Madam Clerk, we're voting.
That motion carries with Mr. Mason, Mr. Lewis, and that's it, out. Garrett, well, yeah.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Attorney Plunkett, are there any motions as a result of our executive session?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we would ask for a motion to approve a salary supplement for Sheriff Brantley in the sum of $56,444.87.
Second.
There's a proper motion by Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle, second by Commissioner Rice. All right.
I know.
Madam Clerk, we're voting.
That motion carries with Mr. Mason and Mr. Lewis out.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Attorney Plunkett, does that conclude any motions we have?
It does.
Madam Clerk, does that conclude our agenda? I think it does.
Yes, sir.
All right, this meeting's hereby adjourned. Thank you, guys. Have a good